Right, so Dungeons & Dragons released yesterday, had some previews as well. I really like this film. You'll find my movie review linked above. It's really enjoyable. It's just a bit of dumb fun, to be fair. Good, wholesome fantasy action. Nothing sort of ideologically based, no messaging aside from strong family values and friendship and some good character arcs about self-belief. It was a good film. So it's doing really well. Actually, I don't know whether this will end up turning a profit because next week is Mario. That's releasing on Wednesday worldwide, and that will eat up this film's audience. But it's still getting off to a reasonably good start. So Dungeons & Dragons starts off with a strong $5.6 million in previews. So I do this weekly. I sort of look at the box office and discuss them. So if you want to stay tuned for that, please do hit subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, and yeah, give the video a like and a share. I would really appreciate it. So let's take a look. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I don't know whether this film's going to have legs. I don't think it will have legs. I think that this film will be fairly front-loaded, much in the same way any of, a Marvel or a DC film generally is. It's a very similar target audience. But no, the new Paramount and E1 movie grossed a strong $5.6 million in previews this week, including $4.1 million in Thursday evening shows and the rest from special screenings earlier in the week. The adventure epic expands into a total of just under 4,000 locations, just in the domestic box office anyway. Friday morning, including a plethora of premium format screens. I watched this over on an IMAX screen, and I really enjoyed it. It's good on an IMAX screen, absolutely. Now, interestingly enough, tracking via the Hollywood Reporter suggests that it will be around $30 million domestically, but then you have the likes of Deadline saying it's going to be about $40 million. So there's sort of two comparisons we're going to look at whilst we go through this, but between $35 to $40 million sounds about right for this film. Many box office analysts believe that number will come in higher thanks to stellar reviews and strong early audience reaction commending the film's smart sense of adventure and jovial spirit. And that is actually the element of this film that is so good. The fantasy element's great. I've seen a lot of people sort of saying that they just wanted the animated cartoon put on screen. Okay, sure, cool, but it's not that. This is as if you were playing Dungeons & Dragons and you're off on a quest. That's basically what it is. And they do a really good job of transporting a normal Dungeons & Dragons quest into a film. It's quite smart. So Paramount and E1, which is owned by Hasbro, co-produced and co-financed the big budget fantasy pick, which cost a reported $150 million to make before marketing. The film also launches in more than 50 markets overseas, including the UK, where E1 is distributing. So they don't have to sort of, cut too much with E1. There's like a deal there where obviously in the UK markets they're probably going to pocket a bit more cash. But this is still good. This is doing well. Really, really well. I think the issue here is it still has cost a reasonably high amount. $150 million pre-marketing is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And as we look through Deadline's report of this, so they say Paramount E1's Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is looking at $16 million today, including those $5.6 million previews for a $40 million start. And they're told that won't buckle. I don't know. This is interesting. I don't know. Yeah. So, tracking has sat on the movie with a $30 to $40 million domestic opening projection for a $150 million production, which is covered 50% by E1. But that's not really the point. The point is it's $150 million pre-marketing. They started the marketing for this early, because this was, I think if I remember rightly, due to release last year. And then they delayed it, and they've sort of gone, through here. Now it's been released. $150 million, they're going to have to make a fair amount of money back. $40 million domestic, it's not terrible. But I think if I'm right and this film is front-loaded, it's going to really struggle to make any money. at all. But they say this: there was advanced Amazon sneaks among other pre-screenings. Dungeons & Dragons made $1.5 million, while the feature take on the whole popular role-playing game has been popular in word of mouth. The thing about this film is the writers and directors came out and said some nonsense about emasculating the men in it. And that's not what the film's about at all. They don't do anything like that. They play, their roles in terms of being a wizard, a bard, a paladin, and the paladin's great in this. He's an absolute badass. So Paramount believed in this movie so much that it screened the pick extensively and brought it to South by Southwest, where the pick made its world premiere as the festival's opening night title. The hope by all is that the pick, they think it's going to push itself to, a massive range of success, but I don't think it will. The problem is, you've got it going up against Super Mario Brothers from Wednesday. And I think this is going to bomb as it goes into that. It has taken the majority of the premium venues from John Wick Chapter 4. But that doesn't mean anything, because now Mario will come out. And Super Mario will then take the premium venues from Dungeons & Dragons. So, not great at all. John Wick Chapter 4 has declined significantly. 72% drop off from Friday. 3-day, $30 million minus 59%. So they think the total will be 124.6 by week 2. That's still pretty good, in fairness. That film didn't really cost that much to make. And then you've got the holdover. I think the most surprising part here is that Creed 3 is still in there, to be fair. Still doing okay. And then obviously Scream. Scream 6. Did not enjoy that film. But this is interesting. I don't know whether Dungeons & Dragons will be a rousing success. I hope so, because I'd actually like to see more in this world moving forwards. I think they've absolutely shot themselves in the foot by espousing utter nonsense that actually isn't true. And I don't know if they were trying to get like feminists on side or ideologues on side. It doesn't really make any sense. I don't want to push this into like some sort of cultural, political element, but there was no emasculating. So I'm watching this film going, why did you say that? And because they have said that, there's a large contingent of the audience that will now no longer go and see it. And then when someone like me comes out and says it's good, they believe I'm a shill, or, I don't know, that I'm just blind to it. But this is a pretty wholesome film, all said and done, with a nice, good message about giving up one's selfishness for, your loved ones and stuff. It's a pretty decent film. So, yeah. Interesting. Now, they do say this. Dungeons & Dragons $4.1 million Thursday is ahead of its comparison. Uncharted's Thursday previews of 3.7 last year. So also ahead of spring hit Kong Skull Island, $3.7 million, and 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. The thing that doesn't account for inflation, so it's not really that much of a bright spark there either. But it's $4.3 million, well, under, anyway, of what A Quiet Place was when that released in 2018. So, if this film's got legs, which I hope it does, it will be successful. But I think that this will peter off massively next week, because Super Mario Brothers is going to just absolutely eat up the box office. But there you have it, ladies and gents. If you've seen this film, let me know what you think down below. I know it's April 1st. I don't do any of that nonsense here on the channel. I understand people find it funny. Cool, no worries. I just don't have time for it here. I'm not going to lead you astray and go, psych. It's not what I do. But anyway, leave your thoughts down below. Cheers, guys. Take care.